Hey, hello. It's been a while since I've uploaded here, so let's get to it. All right. So today I'm going to be showing you my latest track. It's been about almost a year and a half since I last released music, so I've been working on getting a plan together to start releasing music again. Um, so let me show you what I've been working on. So I've been learning how to use Blender. Main reason for that being I want to be able to make my own track artwork. And I like the idea of being able to make my own 3D scenes that match the aesthetic I want to go with and kind of develop my own little world for the music. So for my first track that I'm releasing here, I've made this underwater scene. It matches the theme of the song, which is drowning. And so we have this underwater scene here with a glowing bit down here, some seaweed, and then if I play the animation, you'll see that there's some wind that blows it to the side, and then we also got some little fishes that do a swim, and then it loops again and again, and the loop does okay. It's good enough. So as this was my first attempt in Blender, I first started by making this lamp thing because I wanted to start by making it an interesting focal point for the scene. I didn't really have the whole scene in mind, but I had an idea of kind of what I wanted to do. So I started with this. Let me go ahead and dig up that project because I had a project just for that object because my intent was to make a 3D printable thing. So if I go in here, yes. Okay. Let's go ahead and open this up. So yeah, here we go. We have the original project where I made this. And essentially I just took a shape and I extruded and beveled and, tried to make a cool polygonally faceted thing. This is what I ended up with. I'm pretty happy with it. And I made the two pieces separate in case I wanted to 3D print them separately and glue them together. But as it turns out, it actually works decently well just 3D printing this whole chunk on its own. And it bridges across these nicely. And then right here, I have the clear cap. So actually, let me show you what that looks like in practice because I 3D printed this thing. Now, my intention was to make a 3D printable thing for every single song. I'm not sure if that will work out, but I'm going to keep working on that sort of thing. But let's go ahead and look at what the prints did. So this is how it came out when I made it. I have the two separate pieces, the frame and the gem or whatever this is supposed to be. And they're in two separate pieces. This one I printed normally, and then this one I printed in vase mode, upside down, so that way it like spirals on up, and then you get this nice clear effect that you wouldn't get otherwise. It has this strange effect on the light due to the layer lines and stuff like that. Anyway, the reason why I made this clear is because I intended to put lights in it, and I did put lights in it. So inside this one, we have a 16 LED addressable ring. That's a WS2812B inside there. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, but I didn't end up keeping it connected to the TNT I was using. I used that in a different project. So I haven't taken the time to complete this project, to polish it off. Maybe I will eventually. I don't know. I've just got so many things that I'm trying to get done, but I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Anyway, that's that whole thing. Let's get back to the project here. So yeah, I started by making this design, and then I made a new project. So let's see here. Bloop. And the project I made is this scene here. So started by making this terrain. There's a terrain generator in Blender. I don't remember exactly what plugin it was, but it was something that you could use to, using various variables and parameters, generate a landscape. Was it in here somewhere? Or what did I do for that? I do not remember. Probably just like threw down a plane and then it was something I found in here. Yeah, I don't know. Well, either way, I got that generated, found something that made this sort of a pattern, and I wanted to keep it a sort of low poly look because at my current stage of understanding of Blender, I am not to the point where adding more polygons would make things look better. So yeah, I did that, and I worked on adding in little things back here. So these I made a little bit differently than this. So this has, I think it's 16 facets to it there. Whereas these I made 5 and 7. I made them odd specifically because I feel like it feels more organic, which is a fuzzy way of saying I don't know what I'm doing, but I thought it looked cool. But yeah, let's go ahead and turn this back to rendered mode. Let that load in. And then I made them clear and added some lights underneath them. I also added little wireframe lines to sort of define the edges a little bit better because it didn't stand out the way I wanted it to. Now let's see here. As for the texture on these things, basically all the textures were generated. There's not much to it. I didn't want to get too complicated because otherwise I wasn't going to get this thing done. And the seaweed, don't tell Nintendo, but I stole the seaweed texture from a video game that may or may not match my aesthetic. Anyway, so yeah, I took all that, I got that assembled, and I'll show you what kind of renders I came up with first. This was my first render of the scene. It's rough. It doesn't have the translucency or whatever on these objects, but I made it glow. I got the general idea, and I slapped some fish in there, and it seemed to work okay. But then I was like, I can do better. So I did a whole lot of work and then figured out how to make objects have this sort of transparency to them. And that's cool. All right, but it's not moody enough. Oh, there we go. That's better. And you know what? Let's crank up the depth of field. Oh, yeah, that's too much depth of field. Okay, still too much. Yeah, there we go. That's a lot better. Then let's see. I wanted to get more of the scene, so I backed off, and then I was like, that's not quite right. No, let's keep it close. But then we need to make it a little darker and also animate these fishes. So this is at the point where I'd learned to animate stuff. So right here, up to this stage, I had not been animating the scene because I had no clue what I was doing. This scene, I had started learning how to animate things. So the fish are boids, try to make them swim and look kind of realistic, but you know, whatever. Actually, those fish came from a source here. So I was using Metroid Prime as inspiration. Some of the underground stuff, I just screenshotted a YouTube video of someone playing it to have these to reference. And I was wondering, how do I make fish? And then I realized like the fishy things in the game, they look like that. So like, do I really need to work that hard on it to make it fit the scene? So yeah, that's what I ended up going with. And yeah, these were all of my reference things, so I kind of had this foggy look. This is also massively YouTube compressed. These frames are. That's fine. Anyway, so then it leads us back to, well, actually, let's get back to the renders some more. Okay, so I'd gotten the physics in, and then I started working on the camera angle, trying to get things a little bit closer. I wanted it to feel like you were peering around a corner. And so that's how I ended up with more of this around here than before, have a lower down perspective. At this point, I did too much, but then I backed it off. So that's what I ended up with as my artwork. And then here is the scene. I have several different camera angles for it. So I have the normal camera. This is for the track artwork, and this is meant to be a square perspective. So currently this is 1920 by 1080 because I was rendering out a video, which I made in this format here. And let's see, then I also made a different camera angle for Spotify because on Spotify you can have the animated, let's see, you can have their animated artwork thing. And so I wanted to make it in a way that framed this up in a way that I thought made sense based on their format. So that's what that was for. Okay. Yeah, so different camera angles for different purposes, and that's what that was. Oh, besides that, I had some trouble because I made this in the wrong scale. So when I was making the original object, I changed the meters to millimeters, thinking, yeah, this is totally gonna work. And so when I changed it over to here, everything is off by a factor of 1,000. So trying to get the physics to have any effect on these cloth simulations here, that's what these seaweeds are, required me to amp up my wind to massive proportions. Let's see. So the strength of the wind, yeah, it goes all the way up to 295 before it starts really giving it a blustery look at all. It was just a nightmare to work with the physics in this because my scale was off by a factor of 1,000. So everything, I didn't understand why things weren't working. And then when I realized, well, it's too late. I'm not going to fix my project. I'm just going to work with what I have. So I just ramped up the values of everything until it finally showed. But it took a lot of messing around to get that handled. And then all the seaweeds, I just manually placed. Like I made a strand of seaweed, then I manually placed a whole bunch of them all over. So I guess you can't see it much. It's underneath my camera view here, but in here, a whole smattering of them. So that way I could populate it and make it look somewhat dense. And that's really it for that part of the project. I guess the next thing is the actual project file itself. And this was a song project that I made back in 2013. I released it back in 2013 under a different name on a compilation. And then I ended up redoing basically the whole song. So the drums, this was all redone compared to what it was before because it sounded very weak. In fact, I wonder if I could pull up the old version. Let's see here. My library. Okay, yeah, here we go. I've got the original right here. First off, it was in a different key. And it was very sparkly and stuff. And then I ended up changing a whole bunch of stuff, such that it felt a lot more full, less tinny. And also the vocals sat better in my vocal range. That's the main reason why I moved this song down one note. It's because my vocals just sat much better in that range. It was a lot more comfortable to sing that. So re-recorded the vocals. The drop I made big changes to. So let me see here. So that was that. Unfortunately, I'm going to get a copyright strike due to the guy running the compilation that the old version's on. Actually, the new version still gets content ID'd when I play it, which sucks. Anyway, so the drop, sorry, let's, here. It goes from that to, and I am drowning. Something that I think is a lot more full. And I made it sound a lot more watery. That was another intention of mine in this recreation of it, is to really lean into the theme of the song. And so that's where I came up with that, that redoing of the instrumentation there in the drop. Let's see. Yeah, so the vocals, in order to make those, I recorded it several times till I finally got some good takes. Actually, let's see. Is this... okay, I did 4 takes for each one. Yeah, and I think I put my best 4 takes here or best 4 takes in the lead vocals, and then I comped those together. Second best takes as the side, and then third best as harmony. Comped all those together and ended up with separate bits here. So the lead
Lonely, lost in
I have
the
there
ocean.
in the center with the main effects on it. The second vocals, this is sample delayed, so that way it sounds like there's one going on one side, and then like 1,200 samples later, it starts going on the other, and that gives it a very wide sound. And so on its own,
Lifeless,
it's very weak, but then together it widens out the whole vocals.
lost in the ocean, lifeless.
And then the last bit is the harmony, and I've made this pretty subtle. And I did a similar thing with this one. I did a sample delay the opposite direction, so the 500 samples on the right instead of 1,200 on the left. So it kind of balances that out, if that actually works. I think it sounds good.
Lost in the ocean, lifeless, empty and broken. Dark clouds, the storms are rolling in.
And so then together we have all of these vocals.
Lonely, lost in the ocean, lifeless, empty and broken.
All right. Let's see. Besides that, I don't know if there's really much to say about the song. If you have any questions about it, I mean, do feel free to ask. I'll be responding to the comments on this. And yeah, if you'd like this song, I do have it available on my website here. Wow, incredible. Go to shapingthesilence.com. If you're a patron, you get access to different things down here, which is exciting and fun. You can also just download it for free, no problem, just an MP3 there. Or you can stream it on whatever platform you like to listen to music on. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to walk with me through this project. Yeah, I know it's been a while since I've done the YouTube stuff, so we'll see how I get along doing this again. And I look forward to seeing you next time. All right. Bye.